live in Mary Poppins land here, and many of us are engaged in forms of journalism. But the truth is, we've never been tested. We haven't been seriously tested. Michel Auger, well, he had 5 bullets pumped into his back one day in the parking lot of his employer, Journal de Montréal, because he was covering the biker wars and how they related to the drug business in Quebec. Michel, where are you? Michel Auger.
It's a real pleasure to be here. I have only 15 minutes, please. I was born and raised in Shawinigan, where I learned English too. So you'll excuse my mistakes in the Shakespeare's language. As a young reporter in the Nouvelliste in Shawinigan, I never expected to be one day a champion of the freedom of expression in Canada or even around the world. Because today, to be here in Toronto, I refuse an invitation to go to Brazzaville in Congo to a conference of the Union of French Journalists who want me to be part of the panel on freedom of expression, because Canada joined other countries in the really blacklist of countries where reporters are victims of attacks on them because of their work. In Canada, I received last year the Tara Singh Ayer Award. Mr. Ayer was the editor of the India Times in Vancouver. He was shot and paralyzed in 1988 and killed 10 years later, all because of his work in his community as a reporter. In Quebec, I was the 3rd journalist to be shot at. In 1973, the only reporter that worked with me as a student was Jean-Pierre Charbonneau. He turned really bad. He became a politician, and he's now the president of the National Assembly of Quebec. And he was shot in the editorial department of Le Devoir after a series of stories on the organized crime, the mafia family of Montreal. In 95, another reporter, a freelance reporter, was shot at, was a warning in his legs. He received 2 bullets in his legs after opening the door at his house. In my case, over the years, I've became kind of specialist on the organized crime in Quebec. As Peter Jennings was mentioning this morning, I was the reporter that all reporters from around the world, all across the country, were coming to Montreal to do story on crime. So they were coming to my office and asking me their help and questions. And I was, over the years, I became kind of renowned in Montreal as people who knew a lot on underground criminal organization, and especially the bikers. Recently, the Hells Angels moved to Ontario, but they are in Montreal for more than 20 years. And they became, over the years, one of the worst criminal organizations, because the history of the Hells Angels was marked by few hundreds killings over the last 23, 22 years in Quebec only. They were known as the most violent criminal organization, because the theory that you see on film and television that the mafias or the East European criminal organization are very violent are not the reality. Over the last 5 years, 160 people were killed in Quebec, and I'm part of a list of 18 people who were wounded or killed as innocent bystander to that war between drug-related groups fighting themselves for territories. So on the September 13th, I was arriving at the office, walking normally out of my car, and not knowing at all that one guy was approaching me from the back. And so that guy was having an umbrella, and inside there was a 22 pistol, a semi-automatic pistol, and he fired 6 shots. He fired, in fact, 7 shots. He missed me once, and he got me on 6 occasions. I just realized that recently because I had a lot of difficulties to add all the holes in my body and so on. So for those who don't have didn't have the experience of being shot at, I could tell you that I only remember the first shot. It was like a baseball who hit you in the back, but hit by one of the best hitter of the Blue Jays. I will not talk about the Expos because I only realized then that I was shot at. I didn't know the importance of the wounds that I had. I heard more shots, but I didn't feel it in my body. Then I turned back, and about, I will say 10 feet from the back of me, I saw one guy with a black cap, all in black and white, and I could not see his face at all. I just saw that kind of ball of smoke, and then he ran away. I knew I was seriously wounded, but how seriously, I didn't know. I didn't have the vision at the end of my life. I didn't see a film or the light at the end of the tunnel. Nothing at all. I only just had the idea to phone it because I was still on my feet. So I grabbed my pager and realizing I wanted to call 911 because in the parking lot, in the middle of the parking lot at 11 o'clock in the morning, it's not the busiest hour of the day in Le Journal de Montréal. So then I decided to lay down and picked up my cell phone, then phoned 911. And I was so calm that the woman there didn't believe me at all. But she made the right decision. She acted like it was real. And then later on, she realized that I was really serious about it. So I gave her a lot of details of what happened to me, where I was, and because there is 2 parking lots, and I mentioned them, heard that I was on the south parking lot, and so all the details. And later on, I had the occasion to listen to that tape. And all the memories that I had were real, except that I was a lot more short-breathed. That was the only thing that there is difference that in my mind. It took, I mentioned to the guys of the emergency services that they were liars because in their report they mentioned that they received a call at 10:58 and they were on the scene at 11:01. And to me it was more than an hour because I was always conscious. And the woman at the 911 was asking me questions because she wanted me to stay alive and to stay awake. But at some point, I wanted to check if I was paralyzed. So I hung up the phone, and then I checked all my muscles, everything, my neck. Then I also tried to look if there was a lot of blood because over 37 years of experience with criminals, and I've seen a lot of people suffer. So that's maybe why I was so calm. Then the emergency people arrived, they took care of me, and then the first guy who started to examine my body started to count to 1 to 6. And then I realized at that time that was the number of holes that was in my back. And the doctor also, she was really afraid of the wounds because she was not expecting me to survive because 6 bullets in the kind of an area like that. Later on, they discovered that I was hit twice on the spine, that all the bullets missed the important parts of the body. So they rushed me to the hospital, and that's not true that in Quebec there is a lineup in the emergency room because it took, I don't know how many seconds, how many minutes, because I was taken care of very rapidly to the hospital, and then I awake 36 hours later, then knowing that they kept me, I had 2 operations. They removed 2 bullets, 1 missed me, and 3 are in my back. One of them broken in 2 parts in the back of my back. So that's, nobody could tell how come I had survived that incident. I will say miracle. Some people will say that I'm still here to do a lot of things on this planet. I don't know why, I don't know how, and I'm lucky also to be able to walk alone on the street at night and not being afraid. After the shooting and when I was in the hospital, I was not too sure of what to do the rest of my life. My daughter wanted me to retire and to realize a dream. It's not like those guys who were on the stage before with birds or a whale, but in my case, it's not a few $millions condominium. It's a real small shack in the woods, because for the last 20 years, I've bought a small parts of a small woodlot, and I want to build a real small shack on it, just to occasional visit with my grandchildren. And so that was the dream that I had, but finally I was not able to keep quiet and to get back to my life without my work, because that's the only thing I know to be a crime reporter. I was offered jobs at the teachings or research, but finally I decided that if I had to continue to work, I should continue of what I was doing quite well. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking of my work over the years. So I was back on the job, but it changed. The experience changed a lot of my life, because last week I was invited to a conference. All of my life I thought that one day I will need a psychiatrist, but I was surprised to hear that a few hundreds of them wanted to have me as an expert. And they warned me of the possibility of the aftershock, even if I'm okay right now and I've tried everything and I've checked every small corner of my mind. They warned me about the danger of post-traumatic shock. That's what I told to my boss also, to keep quiet, not to apply too much pressure on me, because I warned him about the danger. But I had a lot of experience also to be invited here. At first I thought it was a mistake, because we are two with the same name on the same paper, and the other one is a renowned political columnist. And finally, when Jennifer Mondeau mentioned that the conference was called IdeaCity, and also it was kind of subtitled, it was Meetings of the Minds. That was the reason why I accepted to be here, to share parts of my life with you. And also, I'm not here for my minds, that's for sure, and really I'm here for my body. And also, one of the most surprising offer that I had after getting out of hospital was from a company called Pfizer. They had a product called Viagra, and they want to have a kind of guys to do something in Canada like the dole in the state. So they say that we don't want you to talk about the product. We want to talk to you. We want you to talk about the problem of dysfunction, erectile dysfunction. Then I started laughing, and I realized then, I said, if I had the problem, I will not go on TV with that. And also, there was never a subject in my life that I didn't touch. Never a criminal, never a group. I was never afraid of anything. So I said, that's another défi, or say in French anyway, challenge. And that's another challenge. But finally, and luckily, the offer, they didn't pursue it. I didn't have to say no. But that experience changed my whole life, because before that, I was a regular reporter, and the day I was shot, I became a celebrity. I became a great reporter, and I'm now celebrated for my courage, and they gave me a lot of prizes. The National Newspaper Award, they even invented a new prize for me, so it's called the Governor's Award, which I received recently, and I also received the award from the President of the Canadian Association of Journalists. But altogether, it was a real bad experience, which turned good, because luckily for me, And unluckily for the criminals, they missed me. And also, the good thing of it, that a lot of reporters got together the day I was shot to do a lot more of the work that I was doing. So it created a lot of pressure on the criminals. And shortly after that, it seems that somebody decided it was too much, and then they make a truce. There is probably just 1 or 2 murder over the last few months in Quebec, where it was 1 or 2 a week before. So it seems that the pressure by the newspapers, the television station, everybody else applying pressure. So last week there was a new laws in the country. So that will be a lot more difficult for criminals to get together and also to try to make intimidation on reporters. Thank you. Est-ce que je peux faire